Hello, welcome back to Garden Obsessed. My name is Carla. Today I wanted to do some gardening things. There's going to be lots of pantry things over the next little while, but I really wanted to start nailing down the garden plan for next year. And more importantly, I wanted to make some decisions about what I want to grow this year, which will help facilitate the garden plan, but also I need to be ready in the next few weeks for seed starting. So some of the early things towards the end of January, beginning of February, it's time to start some of those early things like onions, and some of the herbs and things. So it's time to get them organized and figure out what I want to grow. So I'll flip you around here. All right, so I have all my seeds out, and I did pick out, I started with onions. So this is kind of one of the boring things. There's only two kinds I think that I'm gonna grow this year. This is half a package of Walla Wallas that I tried last year. If you've been around for any amount of time, you know that I cannot grow an onion to save my life. Every year I say this is the year. But I'm convinced Elsa Craig onions is going to be my success story this year. I accidentally ordered them twice, and my gardener had their annual seed sale, and I had forgotten that I had already ordered some from a more local company. So I'm going to start with these because these seeds were grown, in my neighboring province, and I know they're acclimated for here. So I'll start with these and probably start way too many. I might start all of these. I don't know. We will see. So that's the onions. Now, what I will do with those is every year to organize my seeds and make my seed starting easier, I will subcategorize everything that I pull out. So onions are going to be one of the first things that I start, and they are going to go in this bag, which is to start indoors 10 to 12 weeks before my last frost. The other categories I have are 8 to 10, 6 to 8, 4 to 6. After 4 to 6 weeks, things are going to be direct seeded. So they're either going to be direct sown when the ground is workable, which would be before we have our final frost, and then we're going to have direct sow after frost. So that will be more tender things that need warm soil to germinate. A lot of the things that will be direct sown are things definitely like root crops. Those don't transplant well. There's not really any point to trying to start those indoors. So a lot of the things that we will start indoors are things that I want to have a head start for the season. Onions, definitely we cannot grow direct from seed in our short growing season. We have, I think, officially less than 120 days of frost-free growing season, but I think more anecdotally, it's probably around 130 days. Maybe you could get some small onions from seed, but these are things that need to be started indoors early if you really want a good crop. Also things like peppers and tomatoes, things like that, we're definitely going to be seed starting. So I have all my seeds. These are all just beans. I have a problem. These are my saved peanut seeds from last year. So I shelled some of them, but I left some of them unshelled. I had really poor germination with the seeds that I purchased last year. So these are all saved seeds. I didn't actually eat any this year because this was everything. This was from 3 plants. And there's quite a few in this little baggie too. But the thing with peanut seeds is you want to make sure that the seed retains its paper cover and definitely doesn't split in half. They're not viable once that happens. So I left some of them in the shell to keep them protected, but I was curious. I want to see how big some of them were and things like that. They were quite small. 1 second here and I can show you. Okay, so this is, what they're looking like. Some of them are an okay size. Like, I think that will, hopefully, these are viable and will produce a nice plant. But anyway, moving on. Those are the peanuts and the beans. The other things I have here is I have last year's garden plan. So I know how much of everything I grew, where I grew it, so I can keep my crops rotated, stuff like that. Varieties. Then I have this year's plan, which, there's a couple things filled in, but not complete yet. And then I have, this is last year's community garden plan, and this is just, you know, a rough draft of this year. And there's one change I want to make already. I have 2 rows of potatoes here. I'm going to change one of these to peanuts. So that's what we're starting with. Let's start going through and selecting stuff. All right, I've got you kind of precariously set up here, but the first thing I'm going to do is I look at the back of my pack, and the suggested timeline for starting onions is 8 to 10 weeks. But I'm going to push the limits like I usually do, and I'm going to start them in the 10 to 12 week window. And I'm going to try my best not to jump the gun on any of these bags. I have a habit of starting stuff way too early, and it doesn't usually get you any farther ahead. Like, things started later generally catch up. So I'm going to try to remember that this year. I've got my onions in the proper, you know, time for seed starting window here. And we're going to put the onion package back. Now, I kind of have things organized. Generally, I've got my alliums in with my peppers, eggplant, tomatoes, also herbs. Those are all things that need to be seed started fairly early, but I have those in here with greens, lettuces, cabbage, kohlrabi, kale, and broccoli and cauliflower, because these are things that are really cold hardy and can be started and put out earlier than some of the other things. That's the only rhyme or reason I have. You can organize your seeds however you want, but this is how I do it. So I'm going to go through, I'm maybe going to leave the peppers and tomatoes. I'm not going to, I will grow an eggplant this year. I'm lying. I was going to say I'm not going to grow an eggplant, but I definitely will. I'm the only one that likes them, and I have a hard time growing them, but I will always try. So let's flip through some of these herbs and see if there's anything that I want to start this year. Okay, so those were the perennial herbs that I have in here. So what I've picked out, and I may not start all of these, this is kind of like the beginning of my editing process, I guess. I throw everything in these bags, and then as I go, and I fine tune the actual garden plan, then some of these things will come out of these bags and not actually get started. They'll be put away and they won't actually get started. But so far what I've picked out is I would like to try some Russian tarragon this year. This is my favorite parsley. It's the flat leaf parsley. Sometimes I think it's called Italian parsley. I'm going to grow some sage. I did have a sage plant that didn't overwinter last year, and I also lost a couple of lavender plants that had been, you know, they were 3 or 4 years old each. I think it was just our season. We had not a whole lot of snow cover, and I think they were just too exposed. So I need to restart a few things that I lost. I'm going to grow some sweet marjoram, some Greek oregano, and some thyme. So most of these, I'm not even going to look. The tarragon says 6 to 8 weeks. The parsley doesn't say when to start it. But in my experience, like the oregano says 6 to 8 weeks. Oregano is really slow growing, as are a lot of these herbs. So these are going to go in and get started not long after the onions. I'll definitely start the onions first, but a lot of these things will get started not too long after. So now we'll look at the annual herbs. I definitely want to grow some summer savory and some stevia. Not going to grow... Okay, and see here, there's more parsley in here. Probably because, you know, different varieties are hardy in different areas. And sometimes there's conflicting information. So some parsley will overwinter here. A lot of it won't. This is similar to that other one. This is the single hardy Italian. I'm going to throw that into... The curled moss parsley isn't my favorite. I'm definitely not going to grow that one. There's more summer savory. There's some bouquet dill. I probably will start that. That's also bouquet dill. And I think a lot of these other things are definitely stuff that I don't want to grow this year. I'm just gonna, and a lot of repeats. Like there's more parsley. There's some chamomile in here. Cilantro. Cilantro is not my favorite. So I think that's it for the annuals, except for basil. But basil has its own container. So these, and dill is going to get direct seeded. So I'm going to put it in a different bag than all these other things. This is saying 8 weeks, 8 to 10, 6 to 8. But again, they're all going in this 10 to 12 week bag. I start all of my herbs around the same time, except for basil and dill. Dill's going in a different bag. So the dill, I'm going to direct sow when the ground is workable. So it will actually self-seed in your garden. If something self-seeds in your garden, that is a good indication that it does not need for you to wait to direct sow it until your last frost. So on to basil now. So sweet basil, this is dark purple. Let's see. Aromato. A lot of these I'll use like with my cut flowers too, which is going to be a whole different process. They have their own baggies and everything. And a lot more of those get started earlier than a lot of the vegetables, but holy basil, cardinal. I like to grow a lot of basil. Which one was this? Cinnamon. This is lemon. And I think I will grow the dark purple and definitely the sweet. We like to eat the sweet. There's so many. And I might try the Italian large leaf too this year. There's more sweet. I think there's more Thai, dwarf, lime, spicy globe, mammoth. I might try that one. Some more lemon and another red one. I might try that one too. Probably a lot of these will get put away, but I don't want to decide today which ones I actually want to grow. So what do these say? These are going to say to sow indoors. This says basically any time of year. 6 to 8 weeks. Doesn't say. Johnny's has usually got pretty good recommendations. 6 weeks. So I'm going to put these in the 6 to 8 week bag. Which is right here. This is probably going to be the biggest bag because the peppers and tomatoes usually go in here as well. Okay, so we've done all of our herbs. The only thing I think I want out of here, this is greens, is some choy and spinach. So I'm going to pick out the spinach that I want and whatever choys I've got. This is a toy choy. That's a dwarf white, which is basically what toy choy is. That's a baby. I want some regular size here too. So that's a regular size, and then this is a mixed pack of ruby and like a green choy. So I'm going to pick those out. Chard isn't like my favorite thing in the world, but maybe we'll throw a choy or a chard in there too. I've got things like sorrel, endive, more Swiss chard, stuff like that, but some collards. But I think that's all we're gonna pick out of here for this year, for now. Now, what's chard? Probably isn't going to tell us. So this is like a direct sow as soon as the ground can be worked, which actually a lot of these are actually going to be. So ground workable. We're gonna stick our chard in there. All of the spinach is gonna go in there as well. And probably also all of our choy. Yeah, I think so. All right. So that was our greens. Now we're gonna get to lettuce. Lettuce is one of those things, you can start it indoors, you can direct sow it. I think I'm going to make little plugs this year. I am going to start most of it inside. So, I know I replaced some seed last year. I had a lot that was older and not super viable anymore. I think that was a good one. Butterhead I like. This was a new one. Jarrett really likes head lettuce, so I'm going to try to grow that. I think these are old, which sucks because these were Salanova. But I'm going to try to, yeah, they're like 3 or 4 years old now. But I'm going to try, and they were pelleted. So pelleted seed doesn't last as long as unpelleted seed. But I'm going to see if any of them sprout, and I will grow them if they do. This is like a romaine. I do want a romaine type. Let's see what else we have. Iceberg. It's kind of nice to have like a red lettuce too. So there's like a red romaine. A lot of this is old seed. And I'll probably do the same thing I did last year and mix it all together and broadcast it heavily in pots and things out on the deck. Oh, this I think is some of the new seed. I got this one last year for sure. That one's Little Gem. That's a good one. I really like that one. That's another Paris Island cause. All right, this is the fresh seed. So let's grab some of this stuff. Some of this is fresh. Black-seeded Simpson, Butter Crunch. Got a couple of those. Another Paris Island. Those are both Paris Island. They're both new. This one had good germination last year. I really like this one. It's a mix. What was this one? Oh, and there's an iceberg. All right. So that's a lot of lettuce going on. I'm gonna put some of these back in here. There is red mixed in this salad blend, so I'm not gonna bother isolating the red lettuce. I am still gonna try to grow these. I am going to grow, these are new as well, so I'm gonna pick all of those out and put all of these back. All right. That's quite a little handful. We do grow a lot of lettuce in the summertime. So these are things, probably they only need to be started about 4 weeks before you want to plant them. Now, I don't want to plant them all necessarily, like Winter Density is a super hardy lettuce. You can grow this definitely outside before your last frost. So, I'm going to put all of these, even though I'm going to plant them about 4 weeks, I'm going to put them in the 4 to 6 week bag, but I'm going to start them closer to the 6 week and then be able to plant them outside as little plugs a couple weeks before our last frost. So that's my plan. I'll probably change my mind, but you know, that's it. That's it currently. All right. Cabbage and kohlrabi. I don't know if I want to grow any kohlrabi this year. I only ended up with one last year. I think I'd rather focus on cabbage. So these are a couple new packages that I bought last year. I think this is a red one. And I think we'll just pick these out. So I've got Golden Acre, Danish Ballhead, and Early Jersey Wakefield Mammoth Red Rock. So I think these two for sure are kind of shorter growing, like they're smaller size heads. Like smaller head varieties. And I mean, Mammoth Red Rock obviously is an all-season cabbage, and I'm not quite sure about Golden Acre. I think it's a larger head as well. But anyway, these are the ones I'm going to pull out. These I'm probably going to put in the 6 to 8 week bag because they can also be planted out early, and they only need like a month indoor growing. So here's my 6 to 8 week bag, and in goes my cabbage. Okay, on to kale. There's kale currently growing out in the garden. Premier is definitely my favorite kale. I'm 100% growing that one. That was fresh seed last year, so I'm going to use, I think this is Premier. The birds are coming off. This is a couple years old. I'm going to use that. I don't think I want to grow any Red Russian right off the bat. I might try some Siberian, some blue curled. This one I think is actually dwarf. I'm going to grow the full size one, so I'll switch those. Some dinosaur kale, some scarlet kale. This is like curly kale, but it's red. And some Beatty's Camden. I haven't grown that in quite a few years, and I really liked that one as well. So I'm probably not going to grow all of these kales, but again, I'm just like, you know, this is just the first run through, and this will probably get weeded out. So kale, I'm going to start at the same time. I'll start all of my brassicas at the same time. So these are all going to go in the 6 to 8 week bag. Now we're on to broccoli and cauliflower. So I need to go find something because I am missing seeds. Guys, I forgot about my West Coast seeds. So, and I knew I had another onion. Okay, so I got Patterson onion. I'm going to throw that in with the other onions. And this is the only broccoli that I wanted to grow this year, which was the one I grew last year. It's that gypsy broccoli. I might try the munchkin too. And I definitely need some cauliflower. We'll try super snowball. What else we got in here? That's a purple cauliflower. We might as well grow that. And Romanesco's cool. This is a green one, I think. Oh no, that one's purple. I think I have a green one in here, but there's more snowball. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. So there's also a butter crunch that I just purchased. That's a large packet. It doesn't look like it, but it's like 5 grams of seeds. There's 5,000 seeds in here. This I'm actually going to set aside for the seed sale. Definitely going to want to grow those. There's another cabbage, tiara cabbage, that I wanted to try. That's going to be ornamental for the flowers and stuff. There's another spinach that I want to try. I definitely want to grow these carrots, the potatoes, and the beans. So I'm glad I remembered that I didn't have everything here. When I didn't see that broccoli, I was like, I'm missing stuff. So we'll put the brassicas in with the other brassicas. That cabbage can go in here as well. And we'll put the spinach in with the other spinach. we will put the onions in with the other onions. And we haven't got to these things yet, so we'll set these aside. Now, this is the first container. I will do the exact same thing with the beans and the exact same thing with all of my root vegetables, also peas and, you know, cucumbers, pumpkins, gourds, squash, things like that. But this video is getting really long, so I won't make you guys sit through me picking stuff out, but I will come back and show you once we get everything picked out. Guys, I thought I was doing better this year, but nope. So this is everything that I've picked out for the first run through. In addition to these 2 bags, which are beans, these are pole and these are bush. So probably what will happen is is all of these bush beans will probably be destined for the community garden. All of the pole beans I will probably grow at home. These are not all going to get grown. These definitely need to be whittled down, as do most of these things. But as I go through here, for instance, when I get to the tomatoes, a lot of the determinant tomatoes and the paste tomatoes are going to be going into this bag for the community garden. And the other ones, I'll leave in here a lot of the heirlooms and the indeterminates. They'll be grown here at home. I did pick out a few more things. In the bag that I had the onions in, I found some asparagus and some celery. Those are things that have to be started earlier. I may not grow the asparagus. I have, you know, established plants out in the garden, but I'm constantly like, do we have enough? I need more. But, you know, I don't have room for everything. I think what are the other things in here? Oh yeah, my herbs and stuff. You saw everything else in there. I did pick out some peppers. There's way too many peppers right now. Tons and tons of peppers. I won't have room to grow all of these. And the only other thing in this bag, I think, is potatoes. Like that's a lot of peppers. I did put the peppers in the 8 to 10 week bag because I do find peppers quite a bit slower than tomatoes. So I've got the tomatoes here in the 6 to 8 weeks. That should be plenty of time for tomatoes. I've got paste. I've got red slicing, colored slicing, cherry tomatoes. I've also got like my husk cherries, my Inca berries, things like that in here. And that's where all of our brassicas and things are as well. In this one, I have my peanuts, all that lettuce, and I think that's most of what's in that bag. I did pick out a whole bunch of peas. Most of these will be direct sown. This is ground when the ground is workable. And again, some of these will get picked out for the community garden. A lot of these I'll grow at home. I've also got my carrots in here. There's some parsnips, not sure what else. And some of these will get sown in containers. Some of them will go directly into the garden. Some of them will go to the community garden. That will all get sorted out as I whittle these things down. Like there's like, I don't know, there's like 6 or 7 kinds of carrots. I don't need 6 or 7 kinds of carrots. You know what I'm saying, right? Like I can whittle this down even more. And then I have the rutabagas. These can be planted early, but they taste best if they're timed to mature around your first frost. Like if they get hit with a frost or two, they're a lot sweeter. So those are in the direct sow after frost only for that reason. And then I've got all my squash and pumpkins. Guys, this is mostly squash and pumpkins other than those first 2 rutabaga things. And like, I don't have space for all of this, but this definitely needs to get whittled down. But that's what I have. This video turned super long, but I hope you found it interesting. This is kind of just the beginning of my planning process. Now, as I go through, like I'll pick one of these bags one afternoon and sit down and figure out, you know, how much space I have and, you know, how much whittling I need to do. And that will be something that I work on over the next week or 2 before it's time to start any of these seeds. So I thank you for watching. I thank you for stopping by. I hope you come back again, and we will see you next time.